Hello class! So, we've spent most of the semester designing objects in Onshape and Tinkercad. But what do you do when your design is ready to print? Using Ultimaker Cura and an Ender 3 3D printer, I will show you how to convert your .stl file to a .g code and send it to the 3D printer. I will also compare the common types of filament used when 3D printing, how to set up and switch filament on a working printer, and I'll cover some of the basic print settings found in Cura. For this tutorial, I'm printing a Benchy. This little boat, Benchy, is the common first print used to make sure your printer is set up and running correctly. Once your design is exported as an STL file from something like Onshape, you can drag it directly into Cura. You can use Cura to adjust things like infill, support, and print speed, as well as choosing your filament. Three of the most common materials, or filaments, used are PLA, ABS, and PETG. Basic PLA plastics are the most common as they are easy to print with. Printing in PLA generally causes a little stringing, and it can be printed at low temperatures and without a heated surface. ABS is also common as it is a very strong material. However, it prints at a higher temperature and requires a heated bed, which not all 3D printers come with. ABS is also prone to warping and needs to be kept in a constant environment. If your house gets very humid in the summer, you may need a dehumidifier in order to print with this filament. Finally, PETG is the happy medium between PLA and ABS plastics. It requires more heat than PLA, but not as hot of a print surface as ABS. It is a stronger material than PLA, yet is more prone to stringing. While PLA, ABS, and PETG are the most common, there is a wide range of filaments you can buy. Glow-in-the-dark, metallic, and wood variants of PLA filament can be purchased, as well as TPU phone case material. Once you've picked your filament, I'm sticking to PLA for my Benchy, you can go ahead and make any adjustments to your print settings. Profile is how fine you want your object to be, smoother lines versus a faster, coarse print. For your print speed, most PLA filaments can print at 45 to 50 millimeters a second, but the slower you go, generally the cleaner your object is. However, printing ABS too slow can warp or ruin your object as the filament requires the layers to stay hot during printing. For the same reason, ABS generally does not need cooling while printing, unlike PLA. Shell and infill both contribute to how sturdy your object is after printing. Shell is the wall thickness of your object, like a vase or water bottle, while infill is the material inside of your object that is not seen. Most things can be printed at 20% infill. Oftentimes, you will also need to support your print with material that can be broken off after your print is finished. The Benchy has a 30-degree overhang, but you should be able to print it without support, no problem. Retraction is when the nozzle moves without putting filament down. Turning off retraction can keep soft materials like TPU from stringing. Finally, there are a few settings that help the object stick down to the build plate. Skirt is a thin layer of filament printed around the object to make sure the filament sticks. Brim is thicker than a skirt and is normally used to stabilize long, tall objects. Raft is a more extreme version of a brim. You don't need skirts for every print. Normally, applying a layer of water-soluble stick glue to the hot bed is enough to get your object to stick. Now that we've decided all of our settings for our print, you can go ahead and click Slice and save it to a micro SD chip. You will probably need a USB reader if your computer only has USB ports. Once done, you can go ahead and bring your chip to the printer and insert it upside down into the port. Allow your nozzle to preheat before switching out filaments. For PLA filaments, normal temperature ranges from 180 to 210 degrees Celsius. For ABS, the print temperature falls between 210 and 250 degrees Celsius. To switch out filaments, apply tension to the back part of the extruder and pull the filament through. Sometimes the filament can get stuck in the tubing and will need to be unscrewed to pull out. When putting filament back into the printer, make sure the plastic stays on the track and feed the filament through until the old color comes out of the nozzle. Finally, you can go over to the menu screen, click Print from SD, refresh, and find your G-code file. Your printer will preheat, then automatically begin printing. Some printers have an automatic bed leveler that will turn on during preheating. Otherwise, you'll have to go in and check that your print surface is level manually. If your print is successful, you can remove your benchy with a razor scraper by wedging into the corner and snapping it up. And you're done. Congrats on finishing your first print.